Subscribe to Infidelity Tales Lab. Now let's begin. Freddie Hans stood in the doorway of his daughter's bedroom, watching Joy clutch her stuffed rabbit with white knuckles. At 7 years old, she was small for her age, with dark hair that fell past her shoulders and eyes that seemed too old for her face lately. "Please, Daddy," she whispered. "Please don't make me go." His wife, Christy, pushed past him into the room, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. "Joy, we've been through this. It's Grandpa Kent's 70th birthday. The whole family will be there. I don't want to." Joy's voice rose to a shriek. She threw herself at Freddie, wrapping her arms around his legs. "Daddy, please. I'll be good. I'll do anything." Freddie crouched down, meeting his daughter's terrified gaze. Something was wrong. Joy had always been shy, but this was different. For the past 3 months, she'd been having nightmares, wetting the bed, refusing to eat. And she'd become hysterical every time they mentioned visiting Christy's parents. "Christy, maybe we should—" "No." His wife's voice was sharp. "I'm not having this conversation again, Freddie. My mother has been planning this party for months." Joy is being dramatic. "She's 7. Look at her." Joy was trembling now, tears streaming down her face. "I don't want Grandpa to—" She stopped abruptly, her eyes darting to her mother. "To what, sweetheart?" Freddie kept his voice gentle. "Nothing," Joy whispered, going very still. Christy grabbed Joy's hand, pulling her away from Freddie. "That's enough. We're leaving in 10 minutes. Go wash your face." Freddie had been with Christy for 9 years, married for 8. They'd met at a community college where he was studying electrical engineering after his discharge from the Marines. She'd been beautiful, confident, from a well-connected family in the suburbs. Her father, Kent, owned 3 car dealerships, and her mother, Glenda, ran a boutique. Their world was garden parties and country club dinners, a far cry from Freddie's childhood in foster care. He'd worked 2 jobs to give them a good life. Now he ran his own electrical contracting business, employing 15 people. He'd built everything from nothing, and he'd done it for this family. But watching Joy now, something cold settled in his chest. "Christy, she's genuinely scared. We can miss one party." His wife spun on him, eyes blazing. "Family is family, Freddie. I don't care what ridiculous phase Joy is going through. My parents have been nothing but generous to us. Dad gave you the loan to start your business. The least we can do is show up for his birthday." The loan. She always came back to that. Freddie had paid back every cent with interest, but Christy wielded it like a weapon whenever he questioned her family. "I'm not asking you to skip it," Freddie said carefully. "I'm saying maybe Joy and I could stay home this time. You can tell your parents she's sick. And look like what kind of mother?" Christy's perfectly made-up face twisted. "No, we're going as a family, and that's final." She dragged Joy toward the bathroom. Freddie heard his daughter sobbing behind the closed door, heard Christy's sharp voice telling her to stop being a baby. He pulled out his phone and texted his friend Omar Adams, who owned a security company. "Just checking in. Everything good with that install next week?" Omar's response came quickly. "All set. You doing okay? You sound off." Freddie stared at the message, then deleted his reply without sending it. What'd he even say? His gut was screaming that something was wrong, but he had no proof. Just a terrified child and a wife who refused to listen. 30 minutes later, they were in the car. Joy sat in the back seat, silent now, staring out the window with hollow eyes. She'd changed into the pink dress Christy had laid out, her hair brushed and pulled back with a ribbon. She looked like a perfect little doll. Freddie glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Joy, if you need me, I'm just a phone call away. You have your phone, right?" Christy shot him a venomous look. "She's not taking her phone to a family party. That's ridiculous. She's 7. Kids have phones now. Not at my parents' house. They have rules about screens during family time." Christy held out her hand to the back seat. "Phone, Joy." With shaking fingers, Joy handed over the small flip phone Freddie had given her for emergencies. The Strickland house sat on 2 acres in an exclusive neighborhood, a sprawling colonial with white columns and a circular driveway already packed with cars. Freddie parked on the street, and they walked up the long drive. Kent Strickland opened the door himself, a tall man with silver hair and a broad smile that never reached his eyes. He'd been a college football player in his youth, still carried himself with that aggressive confidence. There's my favorite granddaughter. Joy went rigid. Freddie felt her small hand tighten around his. Come give Grandpa a hug, Kent said, arms spread wide. Joy didn't move. Freddie felt every muscle in her small body lock up. Christy laughed nervously. She's being shy today. Come on, Joy. That's okay, Kent said smoothly. She can come to me when she's ready. We got all afternoon. His eyes met Freddie's, and something flickered there. Challenge. Amusement. Inside, the house was crowded with relatives. Glinda Strickland descended on them in a cloud of perfume, embracing Christy and air-kissing Freddie's cheek. So glad you could make it. Freddie, the men are out on the patio. Christy, I need your help in the kitchen. Joy clung to Freddie's hand like a lifeline. Can Joy stay with me? He asked. Glinda's smile tightened. Don't be silly. The children are playing in the basement rec room. Joy knows where it is. Actually, I'd rather she... Freddie. Christy's voice was a warning. Let her play with her cousins. Christy's brother Brian appeared, already drunk at 2 in the afternoon. Hey, little Joy. Want to see the new pool table Grandpa got? Before Freddie could object, Brian had scooped Joy up despite her struggles. Come on, kiddo. Brian. Put her down, Freddie said sharply. Everyone went quiet. Glinda's expression turned icy. Is there a problem? Freddie felt the weight of 20 pairs of eyes on him. This family had never fully accepted him, the orphan kid who'd married up. Christy had begged him to try harder to fit in, to not make waves. No problem, he said finally. I just think Joy might be more comfortable. The children always play in the basement during parties, Glinda said firmly. It's tradition. They have more fun that way. Brian carried Joy toward the basement door. She looked back at Freddie, her eyes pleading. Then she was gone. The afternoon crawled by. Freddie nursed a beer on the patio, making small talk with Ken's business associates and relatives he barely knew. Every 15 minutes, he found an excuse to walk through the house, trying to get to the basement, but someone always intercepted him. Glinda needed him to move chairs. Ken wanted to show him the new car. Brian wanted to talk about a business opportunity. At 4:30, Freddie finally made it to the basement door. He could hear children's voices, games, laughter, but not Joy's voice. He descended the stairs. 6 kids were playing video games and air hockey. No Joy. Where's my daughter? He asked his nephew, a pudgy 10-year-old. I don't know. Haven't seen her. Freddie's heart rate spiked. He took the stairs 2 at a time, pushing through the crowd. Christy. She was in the dining room, arranging a cake with her mother. What? Where's Joy? In the basement with the other children. She's not there. Where is she? Christy exchanged a look with Glinda. She's probably in the bathroom. Stop panicking. Which bathroom? Freddie, you're embarrassing me. She's fine. He checked 3 bathrooms on the first floor. No Joy. The crowd was gathering in the living room for cake and presents. He pushed through, heading upstairs despite Glinda calling after him that the second floor was off limits during parties. For bedrooms upstairs, all empty. Then he heard it, a small, choked sound coming from the master bedroom at the end of the hall. Freddie threw open the door. Kent Strickland was sitting on the edge of the bed. Joy stood in front of him, her pink dress crumpled, her ribbon gone. Her face was blank, dissociated, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. Kent looked up calmly. There you are. Joy wasn't feeling well, so I brought her somewhere quiet. Every instinct Freddie had developed in 6 years as a Marine combat engineer screamed danger. Kent's hand was on Joy's shoulder. Too familiar. Too possessive. Joy, come here, Freddie said quietly. She ran to him like her life depended on it, buried her face in his chest. She was shaking so hard her teeth were chattering. Freddie picked her up, cradling her against him. We're leaving. Now wait just a minute. Kent stood. Freddie didn't wait. He carried Joy downstairs, past the shocked guests, past Christy's protests. He buckled Joy into the car and drove. Daddy. Joy's voice was tiny. You're safe now, sweetheart. I've got you. My tummy hurts. We're going to the hospital. Okay. Don't tell Mommy. Please don't tell Mommy. That stopped him cold. Why not, baby? But Joy had closed her eyes, gone somewhere far away. Freddie drove to Mount Cedar Hospital, the one where his friend Lynette McDonald worked as a pediatric nurse. He'd rewired her house last year, and they'd stayed in touch. If anyone would help him, she would. He carried Joy through the ER entrance. The triage nurse took one look at his face and paged Lynette immediately. She appeared in scrubs, her expression shifting from friendly to professional concern in an instant. Freddie? What happened? I don't know. I need someone to examine her. And I need it documented. Everything. Lynette's eyes met his, understanding passing between them. Examination room 3. Come with me. 2 hours later, Freddie sat in a small consultation room, his hands clenched so tight his knuckles were white. Lynette had called in Dr. and Marshall, the hospital's expert in pediatric forensic examinations. Dr. Marshall was in her 50s, with kind eyes and an air of unshakable competence. She sat down across from him and folded her hands. Mr. Hahn, I need to be direct with you. Your daughter has been sexually abused. Based on the physical evidence and her statements to me, this has been ongoing for at least 3 months. She's given me a name. The room tilted. Freddie couldn't breathe. The name she gave was her grandfather, Kent Strickland. How bad? His voice didn't sound like his own. Bad enough that I'm required by law to contact Child Protective Services and the police, which I've already done. A detective is on the way. Freddie stood abruptly, needing to move, needing to hit something. She begged me. She begged me not to make her go. This is not your fault. I made her go anyway. My wife made her go. Dr. Marshall's expression shifted slightly. Mr. Hahn, during the examination, Joyce said something that concerns me. She said, Mommy knows. Mommy said I have to be nice to Grandpa. The words hit him like a physical blow. What? I can't confirm what your wife knew or didn't know. That's for the police to determine. But I needed to tell you what Joyce said. Lynette stepped into the room. Freddie, there's more. I need to show you something. She held up her phone. After you left the party, I got a call from someone I know who was there. Mandy O'Connell. She's Kent's neighbor, was invited to the birthday party. She saw you leave with Joy and got worried. She's been suspecting something for months. What did she see? Joy wasn't the first Freddie. Mandy saw Kent with another granddaughter 2 years ago. She reported it to Glenda Strickland. According to Mandy, Glenda told her to mind her own business and banned her from ever speaking to the family again. Mandy's been eating herself alive with guilt ever since. Freddie sank back into the chair. My wife's whole family knew. Mandy's willing to testify. She kept records, dates, everything she observed. She's terrified of the Stricklands. Kent threatened to sue her for slander, but she can't stay quiet anymore. A knock on the door. A detective entered, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Mr. Hahn? I'm Detective Deborah Marquez. I need to talk to you about your daughter. The next 3 hours were a blur of statements, questions, evidence collection. Joy was admitted to the hospital for observation, sleeping now in a private room with a guard posted outside. Freddie called his business partner Omar, told him to cancel everything for the next week. His phone buzzed constantly with calls from Christy. He didn't answer. Finally, at 10 p.m., Detective Marquez sat down with him again. We're moving forward with charges against Kent Strickland. Sexual assault of a minor, multiple counts. The forensic evidence is solid, and combined with Joy's statement and the witness testimony from Ms. O'Connell, we have a strong case. What about my wife? Marquez's expression was careful. That's more complicated. We need to determine what she knew and when. Failure to protect a child is a crime, but we have to prove knowledge and intent. My daughter told the doctor that my wife knew, that Christy told her to be nice to Grandpa. We'll be interviewing your wife tomorrow. In the meantime, I'd advise you to speak to a lawyer. Family law, specifically. Freddie looked through the window at Joy's sleeping form. So small in that hospital bed, hooked up to an 4, her stuffed rabbit tucked under her arm. He'd failed her once. He wouldn't fail her again. His phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Christy. Where are you? You humiliated me. Bring Joy home right now. Not one word about their daughter's well-being. Just humiliation. Just orders. Freddie deleted the message and pulled up his contact list. He needed a lawyer. He needed information. And he needed to make sure Kent Strickland never saw daylight again. But most of all, he needed to understand how deep this rot went, and who else in that family had sacrificed his daughter on the altar of their respectability. By midnight, Freddie had retained Jeremy Cobb, one of the best family law attorneys in the state. Cobb was known for taking on high-profile cases and winning. He'd agreed to meet at the hospital at 6 a.m. Freddie dozed fitfully in the chair beside Joy's bed, jerking awake every time she stirred. At 3 a.m., she woke up crying. He held her, let her soak his shirt with tears, murmured reassurances until she fell back asleep. At 5:30, Lynette came in with coffee and a bagel. "You need to eat something." "I can't. Joy needs you strong." She sat down beside him. "Freddie, I need to tell you something else." I pulled Kent Strickland's visitor logs from the hospital system. Last year, a 5-year-old came into the ER with injuries consistent with sexual abuse. The grandmother brought her in, Glinda Strickland. She claimed the child had fallen. We were suspicious, but Glinda had a lawyer there within the hour, shut down our attempts to investigate. The family moved away 2 months later. Jesus Christ. How many? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I've contacted every nurse I know who's worked pediatric cases in the county for the last decade. Jeremy Cobb arrived exactly at 6 a.m., a tall black man in his 50s with silver at his temples and eyes that missed nothing. He listened to Freddie's account without interrupting, took notes, asked precise questions. "First priority is securing custody of Joy," Cobb said. "Your wife will likely try to bring her home. Claim this is all a misunderstanding. We need an emergency protective order. Can you get one? With Dr. Marshall's report and the detective's evidence?" "Yes. We'll go before a judge this morning." Second priority is filing for divorce and full custody. I don't want Christy anywhere near our daughter. Understood. Now, I need to ask you something difficult. How much of your assets are joint? Freddie ran the numbers in his head. House is in both names. Business is mine. We have about $40,000 in joint savings. I've got another $30,000 in a separate account from before we married. The Stricklands are wealthy. They'll come at you with everything they have. We need to be strategic. I don't care about the money. You should, because the house, the savings, if we play this wrong, Christy could tie up everything in litigation while you're trying to protect your daughter. And the Stricklands will absolutely use their resources to drag this out. A thought occurred to Freddie. The business loan from Kent. I paid it off last year, have all the documentation. Good. Any other financial ties to them? No. I made sure to keep everything separate after that. Christy didn't like it, but I insisted. Cobb nodded approvingly. Smart. Now, let's talk about what's going to happen. The police will arrest Kent Strickland today, probably within hours. He'll make bail. The Stricklands will circle the wagons, hire the best defense attorneys money can buy. They'll paint Joy as confused, you as vindictive, Dr. Marshall's exam as inconclusive. They'll find character witnesses to swear Kent is a pillar of the community. They'll lose. In court? Probably. The evidence is strong. But the real battle is going to be in your life, Freddie. They'll try to destroy you financially, professionally, personally. They'll make you radioactive. Every client you have, every friend, every business relationship, they'll poison it all if they can. Let them try. Cobb studied him. You were a Marine, weren't you? I can always tell. Combat engineer. 6 years. Then you understand strategy. Good, because we're going to need it. At 7 a.m., Detective Marquez called. We're executing the arrest warrant for Kent Strickland now. I wanted you to know. Freddie pictured it. Cops showing up at that pristine colonial house, walking Kent out in handcuffs in front of the neighbors. Good. There's something else. Marquez continued. We interviewed Mandy O'Connell last night. She's provided us with names of 3 other granddaughters who exhibited signs of abuse around Kent Strickland. We're reaching out to those families today. 3 others, at least. And your wife. We have an appointment with her and her attorney at 9 a.m. At 8:30, Christy arrived at the hospital with her lawyer, a sharp-faced woman named Alexandria Fry, who looked like she billed $800 an hour. They were stopped at Joy's door by hospital security and Detective Marquez. Freddie stepped out to meet them. Christy looked exhausted, her makeup smeared, still wearing yesterday's cocktail dress. Freddie, what the hell is going on? The police arrested my father this morning. They're saying, she choked on the words. It's not true. It can't be true. It's true. No. Joy is confused. She's been acting out lately, making up stories. Stop. Freddie's voice was cold. Dr. Marshall found physical evidence. Joy told her everything, and she told the doctor that you knew. Christy's face went white. I didn't, that's not. She's lying. A 7-year-old child doesn't lie about this. She does. She's been lying about everything lately, trying to get attention because you work too much. Christy's voice rose hysterically. My father would never. He's a good man. You're destroying my family over a child's imagination. Detective Marquez stepped forward. Mrs. Hahn, we need to talk. Downtown. Now. I'm not going anywhere without speaking to my daughter. That's not going to happen, Freddie said. Not now, not ever. Alexandria Fry interjected smoothly. Mr. Hahn, you can't deny a mother access to her child. Watch me. Freddie handed her a document. Emergency protective order, signed by Judge Rodney Graves 1 hour ago. Christy is barred from all contact with Joy pending investigation. Christy snatched the paper, read it, and her face crumpled. You bastard. You're using this misunderstanding to steal my daughter. There's no misunderstanding. Joy was raped. Repeatedly. By your father. And according to her statement, you knew and did nothing. That's a lie. Then why did she beg us not to make her go? Why has she been having nightmares for 3 months? Why did she say mommy knows? Christy's lawyer grabbed her arm. Don't say another word. We're leaving. As they walked away, Christy turned back. You'll regret this, Freddie. My family will bury you. You're nothing without us. You've always been nothing. And there it was. The truth she'd always believed, finally spoken aloud. Jeremy Cobb appeared at Freddie's shoulder. She's going to be a problem. I know. The police might not be able to charge her. If she was willfully blind but didn't actively participate, it's a gray area. Then I'll handle her myself. Legally, Freddie. We handle her legally. Freddie didn't respond. He was thinking about patterns, about infrastructure, about how foundations crumble when you remove the right supports. He'd spent years building things. He knew exactly how to take them apart. Over the next week, the case exploded across local news. Kent Strickland, prominent businessman, community leader, philanthropist, arrested on multiple counts of child sexual abuse. The Strickland family's PR machine went into overdrive, painting Kent as a victim of false accusations, Joy as a troubled child, Freddie as a gold digger trying to extort the family. But then Mandy O'Connell went public. She gave an interview to the local news, described what she'd seen 2 years ago, how the Stricklands had threatened and silenced her. Within 24 hours, 2 other families came forward. Both had daughters who'd been abused by Kent. Both had been paid off by Glenda Strickland to keep quiet. The public tide turned. Freddie's phone rang constantly. Half his clients were calling to express support and assure him they'd stick with him. The other half were canceling contracts, mumbling about bad publicity and not wanting to be involved. He recognized the pattern. The clients canceling were all people with ties to the Strickland family or their business network. Kent's revenge, orchestrated from jail through Glenda and Brian. Fine. Freddie had built his business once. He'd build it again. But first, he had other priorities. He sat in his lawyer's office with a folder of documents he'd been compiling. Bank records, property deeds, business filings. He'd spent 6 years married into the Strickland family, and while they dismissed him as beneath them, he'd been paying attention. Jeremy, tell me about civil RICO cases. Cobb raised an eyebrow. Racketeering? That's federal, highly complex, hard to prove. But possible? If you can demonstrate a pattern of illegal activity conducted through an organization. Why? Freddie opened the folder. Kent Strickland doesn't just own 3 car dealerships. He has silent partnerships in 6 others across 3 states. Glenda's boutique is actually a chain of 12 stores, all structured through shell companies. Brian runs an investment firm that's really a front for moving money between the various Strickland businesses. How do you know this? Because for 6 years, I was the guy they called to do electrical work, security systems, renovations. I was beneath their notice, so they talked freely around me. I installed the wiring in Brian's office, saw every document on his desk. I upgraded Kent's home office system, had access to his computer network. I paid attention. Cobb leaned forward. What exactly are you suggesting? The The two families who were paid off by Glenda to keep quiet about Kent's abuse. Both payments came from shell company accounts tied to the car dealerships. That's using business assets to cover up crimes. The Stricklands have been systematically suppressing evidence of Kent's abuse for years, using their business network to intimidate witnesses and pay for silence. That's conspiracy. That's obstruction of justice. And it's all documented. You kept records? Every electrical job I did, I kept copies of the work orders, the locations, the dates. I have photos of every system I installed, including their home networks. I know where every camera is, every server, every backup drive. Cobb sat back, a slow smile spreading across his face. You sneaky son of a bitch. They thought I was just the help. They forgot I was a combat engineer. My entire job in the Marines was understanding infrastructure, how things are built, where the weak points are, how to breach systems. This could work, but it would mean going after the entire family, not just Kent. Good, because they're all complicit. Glenda paid off families to protect her child molester husband. Brian helped move the money. And Christy, Freddie's voice went cold. Christy fed our daughter to that monster to keep her place in the family. Speaking of Christy, Detective Marquez called me this morning. They're not filing charges against her. Insufficient evidence of direct knowledge. Freddie had expected that. Doesn't matter. I have something better. He pulled out another file. Christy has been having an affair with her father's business partner, Steve Watts, for the past year and a half. I have hotel receipts, text messages, emails. I also have proof that she's been funneling joint marital assets into a secret account, planning to leave me and take Joy. The only reason she hasn't pulled the trigger yet is that she was waiting for my business to grow more valuable, so she'd get a bigger divorce settlement. How did you? When Joy started acting traumatized 3 months ago, I knew something was wrong. I started investigating everything. I installed monitoring software on the home computer Christy uses. Legal, since it's a shared device in our home. I found everything. Cobb whistled. You've been planning this. I've been preparing. There's a difference. I didn't know what I'd find, but I knew my daughter needed protection. Turns out, she needed protection from her entire maternal family. All right, here's what we do. We use the affair and the financial misconduct to destroy Christie's custody case. The RICO evidence, we turn over to the FBI. Let them investigate the Strickland's business practices. Even if the criminal case against Kent somehow falls apart, the federal investigation will tear their empire to pieces. And Kent, the criminal case is solid. He's going to prison, Freddie. The question is for how long? Not long enough, Freddie said quietly. It'll never be long enough for what he did to my daughter. That evening, Freddie sat with Joy in her hospital room. She was being discharged tomorrow, and he'd rented a furnished apartment across town, far from their old house, far from the Stricklands. A fresh start. Daddy. Joy's voice was small. Is Grandpa going to come get me? No, baby. Grandpa is in jail. He can't hurt you anymore. What about Mommy? Freddie chose his words carefully. Mommy made some bad choices. She didn't protect you like she should have. So you're going to live with me, and Mommy won't be around for a while. Good. Joy's voice was fierce, so unlike her usual timid tone. I don't want to see her. She's a liar. What do you mean? She told me if I didn't be nice to Grandpa, you'd leave us. She said you'd stop loving me. She said it was my job to keep the family together. Freddie felt something break inside his chest. He pulled Joy close, buried his face in her hair. Listen to me, sweetheart. Nothing you could ever do would make me stop loving you. Nothing. What Grandpa did wasn't your fault. What Mommy did wasn't your fault. You're a child. It's the grown-up's job to protect you, and we failed. But I promise you, I will never fail you again. Joy clung to him. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby girl. More than anything in this world. The next morning, Freddie moved them into the apartment. It was small, just 2 bedrooms, but it was safe. He'd had Omar's company install a state-of-the-art security system. No one was getting to Joy. He enrolled her in a new school, set up therapy appointments with a trauma specialist, arranged for a service dog trained to help children with PTSD. He cut his work schedule to part-time, hiring his foreman Marla Munoz to handle day-to-day operations. His daughter came first. Everything else was secondary. 2 weeks later, Jeremy Cobb called with news. The FBI is interested. They're opening an investigation into the Strickland business network. How long until charges? Could be months. Federal investigations move slowly. But I got a sense from the agent I spoke to, they're very interested. Apparently, the Stricklands have been on their radar for years regarding possible tax fraud. Your information is giving them a new angle. Good. Also, Kent's arraignment is scheduled for next month. The DA is pushing for no bail given the severity of the charges and the fact that more victims keep coming forward. We're up to 7 now. 7 children. 7 families destroyed by one monster and the people who protected him. There's one more thing, Cobb said. Christie's lawyer reached out. She wants to negotiate. No, hear me out. She's offering to give you full custody, to walk away from any financial claims, to testify against her father if necessary. In exchange, she wants you to not pursue the civil case against her for Joy's medical expenses and trauma. Tell her to go to hell. Freddie, think about this. Full custody, no contest, is worth. I don't care. She doesn't get to trade away her guilt. I want her to face consequences. There was a pause. All right, but I need to tell you something. If we reject this offer and go to trial, it's going to be ugly. Christie's lawyer will try to paint you as controlling, abusive, manipulative. They'll say you poisoned Joy against her own mother. Let them try. I have the truth. The truth doesn't always win in court. Then I'll make sure it wins outside of court. What Freddie didn't tell his lawyer was that he'd already started. He'd quietly reached out to every business associate of the Stricklands, every client, every partner. Not to badmouth them. That would be obvious. Instead, he simply made himself available. If you need electrical work done, I'm running a special this month. I heard you're looking for a new security system. Let me give you a quote. Your office renovation? I can handle that. One by one, he was pulling the Strickland's business relationships into his own network. Every client he gained was one they lost. Every project he completed was a demonstration that he was reliable, professional, trustworthy. Everything they weren't. And when people asked about the situation, because of course they asked, he kept his answers brief and factual. My daughter was assaulted. The evidence is clear. I'm focused on her recovery. No drama. No emotion. Just facts. It was more damaging than any tirade could be. Within a month, Kent's car dealerships were struggling. Customers were going elsewhere. Sales staff were quitting. The Strickland name, once golden in their community, had become toxic. Glinda tried to counter by throwing a charity fundraiser, a desperate attempt to rehabilitate the family image. She donated $10,000 to a children's hospital, invited everyone who mattered. Freddie made a single phone call to Lynette McDonald. 2 days before Glinda's event, the hospital publicly declined the donation and released a statement. After careful consideration, we cannot in good conscience accept funds from a family currently under investigation for enabling child abuse. The fundraiser was canceled. Half the invited guests had already backed out anyway. Brian Strickland tried a different approach. He showed up at Freddie's office one afternoon, looking haggard. "We need to talk," Brian said. Freddie let him in, but didn't offer him a seat. "Look," Brian began, "I know things are bad, but this has gotten out of hand. You're destroying my family. Your father destroyed my family when he raped my daughter. He's sick. He needs help, not prison. He's getting prison, and then maybe he'll get help. In that order." Brian's face twisted. "You sanctimonious prick. You think you're better than us? You were nothing when Christy met you. Living in a shitty apartment, drowning in student loans. We gave you everything. You gave me a loan I paid back with interest. Everything else I built myself. And now you're tearing us down out of spite." "No," Freddie said calmly. "I'm tearing you down because you're built on a foundation of covering up child abuse. Your father is a monster. Your mother enabled him. Christy sacrificed our daughter to maintain the family image. And you?" He stepped closer. "You moved the money they used to pay off the other families. You knew what it was for. Don't pretend you didn't." Brian's face went pale. "I didn't. That was, get out of my office. And if you come near me or my daughter again, I'll make sure the FBI knows exactly how deep your involvement goes." After Brian left, Freddie sat at his desk and pulled up the file he'd been building. A complete map of the Strickland family's business empire, with every transaction, every shell company, every questionable deal highlighted and cross-referenced. He'd given copies to the FBI, to the DA, to 3 different investigative journalists. The walls were closing in on the Stricklands, and Freddie was the one building them. 6 weeks after Joy's hospitalization, Kent Strickland's trial began. The prosecution had 12 witnesses, including Joy, Dr. Marshall, Mandy O'Connell, and 4 other victims who'd come forward. The defense tried every tactic, attacking the victim's credibility, suggesting the evidence was contaminated, painting Kent as a loving grandfather who'd been misunderstood. The jury took 4 hours to convict him on all counts. Sentencing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. The prosecutor was asking for 40 years. Freddie sat in the courtroom gallery, Joy beside him. The judge had allowed her to attend if she wanted to, and she'd insisted. "I want to see him go away," she'd said. Kent Strickland stood before the judge, his expensive suit unable to hide the way he'd aged in the past 2 months. He'd lost weight, lost hair, lost the confidence that had always surrounded him like armor. The judge, a stern woman named Jody Johnson, looked at him with undisguised contempt. "Mr. Strickland, I've been on the bench for 23 years. I've seen a lot of terrible crimes. But what you did, the systematic abuse of your own granddaughters, the betrayal of trust, the damage you've inflicted on these children, it's among the worst I've encountered." She paused, letting the words sink in. "The prosecution has asked for 40 years. I'm sentencing you to 50. Consecutive, not concurrent. You will likely die in prison. And frankly, that's more mercy than you showed your victims." Kent's lawyer objected, started talking about appeals. The judge shut him down. "Take him away." As the bailiffs led Kent out in chains, he looked directly at Freddie. There was no remorse in his eyes. Just rage. Good, Freddie thought. Let him rage. Let him spend the rest of his life raging in a 6x8 cell. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Freddie had prepared a brief statement. Joy stood beside him, holding his hand. "Today, justice was served. My daughter and the other victims can begin to heal. But this isn't over. The people who enabled Kent Strickland, who covered up his crimes, who prioritized family reputation over children's safety, they need to be held accountable too. We're pursuing civil cases against everyone who knew and did nothing. We're cooperating fully with the FBI's investigation into the Strickland business practices. And we're setting up a foundation to support other victims of family sexual abuse." He didn't take questions. He simply walked away with joy, leaving the reporters to shout after him. 3 months later, the FBI arrested Glenda and Brian Strickland on charges of obstruction of justice, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and RICO violations. The evidence Freddie had provided, combined with what federal investigators uncovered, painted a picture of a family that had been using their business empire to cover up crimes for over a decade. Glenda tried to flip on Brian. Brian tried to flip on Glenda. Both tried to claim they were victims of Kent's manipulation. Neither succeeded. They were both convicted and sentenced to 10 years each. Christy avoided criminal charges, but the divorce proceedings destroyed her. Jeremy Cobb had built an ironclad case using the affair, the secret bank accounts, and most damningly, testimony from Joy's therapist about the psychological damage Christy had inflicted by forcing Joy to spend time with Kent despite obvious signs of trauma. Christy lost custody completely. She lost half of the marital assets to Freddie, despite her family's lawyers fighting tooth and nail. She lost her reputation, her social circle, her family's support system as it all crumbled around her. The last Freddie heard, she'd moved to another state, living under her maiden name, working a retail job. She tried to visit Joy once, shown up at the school, but Joy had refused to see her. The therapist agreed it wasn't in Joy's best interest to force contact. Freddie was fine with that. Christy had made her choices. Now she lived with the consequences. 1 year after that terrible birthday party, Freddie and Joy stood in the lobby of a newly renovated building in downtown. The sign above the door read, "Joy's Life Foundation, supporting survivors of family sexual abuse." They'd funded it with the settlement money from the civil case against the Stricklands, with donations from the community, and with Freddie's own contributions. It offered free therapy, legal assistance, emergency shelter, and advocacy for children and families dealing with abuse. Mandy O'Connell had agreed to serve as the executive director. "I couldn't save those other children," she told Freddie, "but maybe I can save the next ones." Joy cut the ribbon with oversized scissors, a huge smile on her face. She was 8 now, still in therapy, still healing, but stronger every day. She'd recently joined a soccer team, made friends at her new school, started laughing again. She'd never be the same. The trauma would always be part of her. But she was surviving. More than that, she was thriving. "Daddy," she said as they walked back to the car, "do you think Grandpa knows that we turned something bad into something good?" "Probably," Freddie said, "and I hope it eats him alive." Joy considered this. "Good. He should feel bad forever. He will, sweetheart. He will." That evening, Freddie sat on the porch of their new house, a modest 3-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood, bought entirely with his own money. Omar Adams was there, along with Marla Munoz and a few other friends from the business. They were celebrating the foundation's opening with beer and burgers. "You did good, man," Omar said, clinking his bottle against Freddie's. "You took a nightmare and turned it into something meaningful." "I'm not done yet," Freddie replied. "What do you mean?" Freddie looked out at the street, at the neighborhood kids riding bikes in the fading sunlight, at Joy playing catch with Omar's daughter in the front yard. There are more kids out there. More families covering up abuse to protect their reputations. More children being sacrificed. The foundation is just the beginning. I'm going to find them. Expose them. Make sure they face consequences. Marlon raised his bottle. "We're with you." "All the way," Omar agreed. Freddie smiled. He'd lost a wife, lost connections, lost the life he'd built. But he gained something more important, purpose, and the knowledge that when you strip away everything else, what matters is protecting the people who can't protect themselves. His daughter was safe. His daughter was healing. His daughter was loved. Everything else was just details. And Kent Strickland? He was in a maximum security prison 300 miles away, in a cell with a violent cellmate who'd heard all about what Kent had done. Prison justice was harsh for child molesters. Freddie didn't lose sleep over whatever Kent was experiencing behind those walls. In fact, he slept better than he had in years. Justice, he learned, wasn't just about courtrooms and verdicts. It was about dismantling the systems that protected monsters. It was about building something better from the ruins. It was about making damn sure the bad guys paid. And they had. In full. Freddie raised his beer to the sunset, to his daughter playing in the yard, to the future they were building together. "To new beginnings," he said. "To new beginnings," his friends echoed. Joy came running up the porch steps, her face flushed with happiness. "Daddy, watch me do a cartwheel." And Freddie watched and cheered and felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.